All right. This episode is going to be bonkers, and I don't know if I've ever been more excited, to be completely honest. I've never had an episode with multiple guests, so I'm very excited to start it out with a banger. We have a jack of all trades, and Alex Lewis, who can literally do it all. He's an actor, singer, comedian, musician, you name it, does it all. We have an Emmy Award winning songwriter and producer extraordinaire, Hughie Stone Fish, and we have Try Guy, Broadway star, and writer Keith Habersberger. So welcome to Take a Bow, Lewberger. How we doing?
Thanks for having us.
We're doing great.
Oh my God, this is a treat. I've seen your guys' content everywhere on YouTube, on TikTok, all the things. So I know myself and my listeners are very excited for this episode and to chat about your off-Broadway show is releasing a cast album. So there's so many fun things to talk about and perfect for my listeners, and we cannot wait to chat about it. But the way I usually like to start these things is I like to ask, where did this all start? Not even like the show itself. Where did we start? Like, why? How did we get into performing? How did we get into writing, telling stories, entertaining others? How did that all start? And what made, how did we get to where we are today?
Well, we all have lots of different ways that we started doing music, doing storytelling, doing comedy. For me, I started playing guitar when I was a freshman in high school and got really into songwriting. And then, we all did theater and those types of things in our early years. I went to Berklee College of Music, got a degree in songwriting. Keith was studying French horn in college and then became a theater major. Alex was studying through the study of life and being an LA person and all the comedy schools and all that stuff. Alex was really hitting those comedy schools hard. So we all just really found those passions. I was at the Second City. These guys were at BuzzFeed. We all formed to create a comedy band, and here we are.
Oh my gosh. And it's kind of led to where we are today and led to you guys writing and starring and producing and all the things of an off-Broadway show. So let's just get right into it. I mean, this show became so successful. I mean, it's pretty much sold out every night, and it's called Lewberger and the Wizard of Friendship, the musical. Talk to me about, what it was like to just perform in like an off-Broadway world in New York City on a stage. Like, how cool was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was super cool to be able to put on our own show, but also really, I mean, the performing is always fun. I love performing, and we all love performing for an
Yeah.
audience. But I think the thing that was most impactful from doing the show was the amount of work that went into it, both the lead time of work for 4 or 5 months. Preparing for it, even just finding a space and finding the people who are going to work alongside us to build this show, and then the actual rehearsal process. We really had 2 weeks before the show opened to actually work with the cast and hang up the projector and hang the lights and work with our choreographer Nico de Jesus. And so that's a really short timeline. And in those 2 weeks, I'd say the three of us and Brian Wool, who is our opening act when we're on the road, who also was in our show, were pulling 12-hour days at the theater, but then normally 3 to 5 hours more at night, just fixing music, fixing projections, fixing the script. As you're rehearsing, you're going to find the problems in the show and you're going to want to make them better. And we just kept wanting to make the show better and better and better. And we were all living together. So it was kind of like being in college, in that we were really just breathing this show exclusively. We weren't working on anything else. So doing all that made the performing of the show that much better, because now you're not just, as an actor being able to deliver lines and getting laughs, but you're producers and you have jokes in the music and you have jokes in the projections and the whole show and its success, and even your cast's successes in their delivery of songs and dances and lines is so much more gratifying.
For sure. Does anyone else want to add on to that? Alex, I know you were chiming in the beginning. Did you want to add on?
Yeah, I mean, it was just really cool to also see sort of the genesis of what we do in in the place where it probably kind of is the most appropriate. What we do generally is this musical comedy concert performance, but it is, we like to say that what we're doing is musical theater.
Right.
When we're touring, it almost feels like the national tour of a musical oftentimes. And in this situation, it was like, well, this is where musical theater happens, and so it just felt like this is exactly where we've always wanted to go.
I love it. Yeah, totally. You could totally see that sense of, like a reward every time that you guys were on stage and every time you guys, had that success of a show every night. It's got to be so cool. I got to like no sleeping, right? No, just nothing was going on while that was going on, right?
No, we pretty much get to the around between 7:30 and 8:30.
Yeah.
I think we were getting up, and then we rehearsed. We were scheduled to rehearse till 11 p.m. every night, and we only did, I think, once or twice. But then basically we'd go home. We'd send the cast home and everyone home, and then we'd go back. And I know one night we were like, oh, we should really make these recordings for when we see the hard pieces, which actually are going to be on the album. And so I think it was from like 12:30 at night to 2 a.m. We were like writing songs, recording them, and then the next morning I woke up and finished producing them, and then finished mixing it, and then I think it was
Wow.
in the system by the next day. And there was something like that every day. If it wasn't Keith like fixing the projections, making new projections, Alex doing rewrites, like whatever the case may have been.
Yeah, I don't think there was a single day in the 6 weeks that all of us had a day off together.
Right.
Like if
Right.
there would be times where we'd have a day off, but I was actually in the booth, or we'd have a day off and Hughie was recording the entire cast album with the cast and some of our guests, or we'd have a day off, but Alex has to run the Guitar Center because we don't have the correct DI box that we need for the performance we're doing on Saturday night, and we forgot that we were going to need that. Like there was just never a time where any of us were like, we have nothing to do today.
Right. Yeah, that's so real. But it's great that you guys, it seems like you all complement each other's strengths and weaknesses so well. You guys can all pick up on what the other can't. It seems really cool.
Oh yeah, these guys have a great way of complimenting my my weaknesses. They find my weakness and compliment them right away.
We sure do. Yeah, we I think putting on a show of any size, but of this size for us especially, you have to be able to both divide and conquer things, but then you also need to unite and conquer other things. And you really do need to lean on one another. Even the simplest thing of like, can somebody right now just go and get us some water is no small lift. You've got to travel across New York and carry it's just not as easy to
for a $7 water.
Right. You just need to really work together, and everyone needs to make sacrifices kind of all the time.
Yeah,
a lot of running back and forth between the Airbnb and the theater and stuff, and just all day. It was crazy. On one of my first days there, I spent about 2 hours trying to set up a bidet for our Airbnb.
Oh my God.
And I almost destroyed the bathroom. It was really funny.
That's amazing. That should have been a video. I feel like I would have loved to watch that. Amazing. So let me talk to you guys about this recording process of the album, because you guys have some really cool people on the album, including yourself. You have Broadway stars such as Alex Brightman and Wayne Brady, and there's so many other really cool people. So talk to me about what it was like to not only record it, but to work with them even further, and during this process, and kind of share it with them.
It was really cool to get some of our personal heroes to be on the album. And some of the coolest part was just, having the idea to ask them and then them enthusiastically saying yes. And some of these people we'd formed, some type of friendship with, or whatever the case may be. And so you're hoping, but there's so many reasons for people to say no to things and to not do things with people, even people they admire. So, hearing Wayne Brady singing our songs, Alex Brightman, being in the studio when Deshaun Wesley was creating his own, verses for our album. It was just really cool. And to see, our hard work that we've spent more time than any of us could even possibly imagine on it, and then to give it to these true, titans of comedy, of musical comedy, and see them put their spin on it was really rewarding.
That's awesome. So cool. Did you have to rewrite anything for them and to fit their voices, or anything like that? Was there any changes made through the process?
There was collaborative. It was very collaborative process, all of it, because obviously when you're working with people like the people that we work with, you want them to give their input. You want them to sing the lines how they think they should be sung. So certainly we were making changes together in the room. But I will say, I think in addition to that, the respect that we have for them and wanting them saying, hey, if you think you should change this, you should change it. I think what was really cool was them feeling that way back towards us. And, having someone like Wayne Brady be like, no, I want to do this again. And I want to sing this line exactly as you guys wrote it. So it's like that balance, Wayne's going, I want to sing it exactly how it's written. And we're going, well, we want you to change it. What do you think it should be? And so, with all of us being really wanting the other person to have input, I think we came away with some really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and especially because a couple of the songs, especially for what Wayne was singing on the album, these are songs we actually haven't performed as Lewberger outside of the show. So we're not so married to how it needs to be, because I honestly don't know. Keith, have never sang this in front of an audience to know what the laugh lines are, what the melodic, the best version of how to sing these rhythms and melodies are. Like with all the other songs, we get this experience of traveling across the country, performing them, tweaking them ever so slightly every single night. And then when we record them on the album, we know the best way to perform the song. But for, Modern Tortures, which is the Wizard of Friendship's like actual solo comedy song, I don't know the best way to perform that. Even when we were doing the show with our cast and we have, Nia, who's super, super talented playing our wizard on the stage, she would be like, how do you want me to do this? I'm like, Nia, we have to figure this out together. I don't know.
Right.
And that's sort of super fun about putting up a show with a cast where you get to say like, I don't know, try something out. Let's see. We don't necessarily have all the answers. We have to find the answers together.
Absolutely. I love that, because it's throwing me back to like, I've been in a couple Broadway shows myself, so it's like taking me back to all of these times where we had those processes, and my favorite ones were the collaborative processes, when you were working together. Because when I was on Broadway, I was 11 years old, so like I couldn't do everything they said or any like I had my own perspectives, and we very different perspectives, and so like when I felt like we were in the room, I'm sure it was enjoyable not only for you guys but also for the performers, and including the singers on the album, Wayne Brady and Alex Brightman. Not a big deal. Never heard of them. Just kidding. So I gotta talk to you about the song that's out right now. It's called "It's a Stupid Idea to Put on a Broadway Show." I think it's absolutely brilliant. I can't believe that it's a song, but then I listened to it and then I was like, oh my god, that's absolutely the greatest thing I've ever heard, because it puts it into perspective for literally everybody, and in such a brilliant way, and not in like a harmful way. Talk to me. The full album comes out on Friday, June 23rd, and I love that song, and so I'm curious to hear, is there a song that each of you are married to that you just are so excited for people to hear?
Yes.
Yeah. But I feel like some of the songs, I mean, I know that all of us are really excited for everybody to hear Giant Bird in a Man Suit, because the production on the song is just so unique, both for us and our sound, but also what Deshawn brings to that song. I almost am like, gosh, I want to make sure everyone gets to the entire song and get to his second half of the entire song. Like the second half is just him absolutely crushing it, and it's such a vibe. It is funny, but it's more funny how cool it is rather than funny because the lyrics are funny. It is just actually so musically satisfying and fun. It's more about fun than funny in that song, and I'm just really excited for people to hear it.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed. I can't wait.
It's got just such great synths on it too. It just has it, like when the hook comes in, it's so fat. Like the sound is just so big. And it's so cool, and it's such a silly song. It's about a giant bird masquerading as a human. It's full like ridiculousness. Like some of our songs are, a list of great jokes cobbled together in a song, sort of like the Disney Princess song that people know so well from. But this is so absurdist and fun, and really like what you should listen to the song and be like, what was that? I really enjoyed it, but what happened?
Yeah, what was that? I need to play it again 16 more times, which is what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much cool production on the album. You know, "Wicked Waltz," which is a song we've been performing for a long time. That I won't even describe the song. I'll just let people listen to it. But you know, there's really great orchestration in that one that I'm really excited, you know, about. I love listening to that because something that is a running joke throughout the show that is really true is like the music is so serious and the songs are so silly and dumb to a certain extent. So that's one where the music is just very, very serious, and the lyrics and Keith singing over top it are just so silly. So I'm excited about that. Alex, you know, there's a song called "Depression" that Alex sings that everyone loves when we perform it, and the production on that is really cool. So there's just every song is different. You know, we really do a lot of different genres of music. That's something we pride ourselves on, and we think it keeps the listening experience really fresh. We also have narration through the album. So we have Brian Wohl, who played Flim Flam the Sausage Man in the original version, and like Keith said, comes on tour with us, and he's traveling to Amsterdam to go do comedy. So he's really a great stand-up storyteller, and he sort of is narrating the story of the Wizard of Friendship throughout the album. So I'm excited for people to get a little taste of what the show is as well.
Yeah, you know, in that vein, the album almost works not only as a cast recording, but a little bit like a concept album in a way, because you get to hear where you are in the story. Because, you know, one thing especially with the songs themselves, if you just heard this as an album and we didn't tell you that it was the songs from Wizard of Friendship, you know, aside from the Wizard of Friendship theme song, which is also one of my favorite songs on the track, that Wayne Brady first comes in, and it's like very 80s and really cool. But aside from like that song and Flim Flam the Sausage Man and Modern Tortures, I don't think you would necessarily know that like these can be listened to in a vacuum, all the songs. So so one thing that's really cool about the narrations is you hear where you are in the story, and you hear and Brian does a really nice job of painting the picture of how the show kind of feels outside of the music. So I'm excited for that as well. It really, like I said, it makes it feel a little bit more like a concept album, while still being able to listen to all the songs on their own.
Yeah, and I'm curious to ask, like, talk to me about the process that, like, was, you know, you put on this show and you figured out the show, and then you had to, you know, translate it onto an album. And especially, like, with your guys' show, you know, there's a little bit of improv and there's some audience engagement and interactions and stuff. Like, so what is, like, yeah, right.
It's a loose.
Just a tad.
So, like, only a little bit of improv. Hughie was allowed to improv one joke every night.
I love it.
It was a 10-minute long joke, but
yeah, each joke was 45 minutes. But,
you got to fill the space, right? So talk to me about what the process was in kind of translating that onto an album and kind of picking, you know, where you could have that kind of fun and where you could, you know, just sing the song or something.
Well, we made the album and the show in conjunction with each other and as pieces of each other. So we were making the album knowing that we were going to be using the tracks for the show. And so that did make the album process, you know, that would mean that every now and then in a song, we'd be making the song for the record, you know, for Wicked Waltz, to bring it up again. There's a spot in the middle of Wicked Waltz where Keith holds out a hilariously long note. And
amazing.
To the point earlier, we know, because we performed that song on stage, that no matter what happens, when he's done holding out that long note in the middle of the song, there will be an applause break. It's just too exciting. We all just want to scream and cheer for him at that moment. So in the record, obviously that's not two different tracks. It's just one track. And if you're applauding, you'll just rewind. But in the show, you know, we actually built that as two separate tracks and built a new track with just a 1-bar count in so that no one is lost for the music. So there was a lot of stuff like that happening. But then what was really cool was after we were done with the show and we'd already recorded all of the songs, it was then going back through the album and going, okay, now we've made the album, we've done the show. How do we actually make this album closer to the show, as opposed to making, you know, the show closer to the album? And that's where the narration came in. That's where some of the heart piece sounds came in. That's where the other aspects of the show really put themselves onto the album and made this album such a more magical experience.
Yeah, and even the narration, I mean, it was actually done and finished 2 days after the show closed, which is when we got Brightman into. He had like an hour that he could give us one day. So like, let's go in, let's do it. And while we were there, we were literally sort of typing out a summary and being like, okay, let's tweak this a little bit. We were literally going section by section and just grabbing stuff from the script and summarizing it and changing it around. And then, still directing Brian just to give the type of performance, just because we're like truncating so much and we're changing things. So we have to deliver it a little bit differently than we did in the show. So it was still, even the very last bit of work was highly collaborative. We were all in the studio together, making sure every little line was doing its job, serving its purpose. And it's when you're making an album, especially when you've made some albums before, what you really don't want to have is listen back and be like, if only we had done this. You really don't want to do that as a creator, and because you can look back at your last albums and be like, I really wish we had just done this, or just taken one more hour to get this. So we were really, really trying to do everything we could not to have that feeling now. Sure. And we don't. I really think that, nothing is perfect, but I think we're as close to perfect as we can get right now with this project.
I love it. I'm so excited for the full thing. It's going to be playing on repeat. I can't wait.
It's a blast.
Yeah, seriously. So talk to me about like the show itself. Like, how did this whole thing just like why did you guys write this? Like, what did you guys just want to perform off Broadway? Like, what was that, what inspired you guys to make this show?
Well, the original conceit of it was, during 2020, we put out a comedy special, and it was great. It was our concert, which, always a good time. Everybody loves. And we were sort of thinking like, what are we going to do for our next special? And we were really inspired by the fact that, you had the Bo Burnham special that came out, Bo Burnham Inside, kind of redefining what comedy specials could be. You had, things like John Mulaney's Sack Lunch Bunch. And there was just, it was, I think that was sort of where we regrouped and went, okay, what we do is very different from stand-up, obviously, but it's also very different from even other comedy music acts, I would say. We're very theatrical. So, we kind of put our heads together and said, well, maybe it would be fun if during the taping of our next special, we were thrust into a musical. And so that's kind of how the idea was born. And that's what happens in the show. We get in a fight on stage during the taping of our second comedy special, and we break the Wizard of Friendship's heart, and he sends us to the land of no friendia.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so freaking silly. Like, I am obsessed. Great. Amazing. Okay. I have to ask you guys, because I know this is going a little bit outside the show, but it's sticking with this theme of like musical theater and theater. I'm obsessed with I know the lyrics and he doesn't. Your little sketch you do on TikTok. And I certainly like specifically obsessed when you're like doing it with Broadway stars in their theater and you just don't know the words. Like, I think it's just brilliant. It's just so funny. So I've got to ask, like, I don't know, like, because Alex, I was shocked to hear that you didn't go to school for theater, because it seems like you're the one that knows all the words. So like, how did that thing like come about, and like, did you guys ever think it would like become this viral sensation that it's kind of become?
Yeah, well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I have been trained. I am like trained in certain aspects.
Great.
Singing in choirs, and I have a voice coach. But the reason I know about musical theater so much is because I have always loved it, and since I was a kid, I've always listened to all the new albums that came out and everything, and I'm just obsessed. And I've been doing community theater. I've been in a million musicals in my life, but yeah, the way that I know the words and I don't came about was we were at Hughie's wedding. The three of us, and a song like kind of I thought of the song "Me and My Shadow" by Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. And I said to Keith, "Do you know the song Me and My Shadow?" And he said no. And I said, we should make a video where, like, we're doing. I described basically exactly what we do in those TikToks, and I said we should do we kind of just did it at the wedding. I was like the wallpaper sticks to the wall, and Keith improvised something like, "Yes, it's go ahead, Keith."
I mean, it was somewhat inspired by how people on TikTok literally do duets sometimes musically with each other, where one person is playing stuff and someone is singing the actual lyrics. And
Sure.
we just, at the time, we were starting on TikTok, and we knew that TikTok succeeds when a channel has a very specific format that is repeatable, that looks the same, that is the same joke, because that's what you want from a TikTok channel. I want this person to do this thing. That's what it is. And we hadn't found ours yet. And we thought this could be one. It was one of a few that we were experimenting with at the time, but it really hit, and it sort of captured what we were good at, which was a knowledge of musical theater from Alex, the ability to learn music unbelievably quickly from Hughie, who is literally, I mean, every single one of those, it's about 60 to 90 seconds before Alex is playing it off of his phone, and Hughie's like, yeah, I can do this close enough. And sometimes we pulled up some sheet music, or sometimes he's reading guitar chords on a piano, and I'm just basically listening to the musicality of what they're doing and ignoring all the lyrics they're singing as they're trying to figure it out, or they're not even singing lyrics. He's just singing do, 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 so that I kind of know, at least musically, what the song sounds like, because I need to be making up jokes. And, but it's just, we sort of go for it. And often it's a one take. We're like, okay, that was pretty good. Next one. God. And we're just, trying to crank out 15 or 20 in one setting. Because we all have so many things going on. We'll try to block shoot them and then release them, or we'll plan to do it in a theater in our show. We'll have people and guests, or we'll go to the stage where Kinky Boots is happening and try to knock out as many as we possibly can. And yeah.
So freaking cool. I know. Little Shop of Horrors, Chicago, fun. Like, you did them in the lobbies of Funny Girl. Like, I was like, it's so good. It's so brilliant. I just love it all. So, big, like I said, big fan. And the theater kid inside me loves it. Well, listen, I love everything that's going on. Again, I want to say Friday, June 23rd, full album is out of The Wizard of Friendship, and there's currently one song out. It's a stupid idea to put on a Broadway show. Everyone go stream it on all the digital platforms. Is there anything else that you guys want to mention or want to shout out? This has been a treat, seriously.
Thank you. Yeah, we're always posting stuff online. We have a Patreon where we post everything early. The album is going up there early. We posted Stupid Idea before it got up there. So that's just a spot for people who, really want to get inside the Lewberger world, and we'll post stuff when we're all hanging out or whatever the case may be. So we have the Patreon. We got our socials. We're really excited for the album. I think Keith was going to say something as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that while we were doing this entire process, just like we sort of documented the build up to making the show that went on the Try Guys YouTube channel, we documented it while we were doing the show. So we're working on cutting together some sort of piece that shows what it is like to actually do it itself. We're not exactly sure the length, if it's going to be full documentary or more of a almost an episodic short docuseries, but we're working on, because we realize the importance of people just understanding how much work goes into even our little 99-seat theater run for a month show, and you can see how much effort and how much work and how much thought goes into it, so you really can appreciate a show that's going up on Broadway for real, or touring across the country. And I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of work that goes into it, so we're trying to help showcase how hard it truly is.
Yeah, and we'll also be dropping 2 more singles in the month of June, as well as a couple music videos. So look out for those. And then we'll probably release a couple more music videos once the album drops as well. And we'll be on tour. We're a very small tour in November, but we'll be going to Ohio, Illinois, and Minnesota, and potentially more dates. But those 3 are confirmed for now.
Love it. And I'm sure with the June singles drops, you'll be posting that on social media or whatever it may be. So why don't you shout those out just quickly so that they know where to look for that?
Absolutely. We're Lewberger on Twitter and Instagram. And then I think we're Lewberger Comedy on TikTok, although we don't generally promote stuff on TikTok because we all know, oh, it's Lewberger Music on TikTok. But, promoting on TikTok doesn't really work. They'll throttle the view count and not let you promote anything outside of TikTok. But you'll see it on Instagram and Twitter and all.
And if you're just listening to us and you haven't looked at how Lewberger is spelled, every vowel is an E. Otherwise, it's spelled how you expect. Lewberger. Every vowel's an E.
I love it. Well, I got to wrap up. It's Tony season, so I've got to wrap up and ask all the guests, what is their favorite musical of the season?
A Strange Loop.
That was last season.
We saw it, but we saw it this year. So
okay, fair enough. It won Best Musical, so you win.
We were lucky to see Sweeney Todd, and it is pretty fantastic. But we also have to shout out Anne Juliet, our choreographer, as the assistant dance captain, Anne Juliet, and it certainly is a blast. Yes. It's pure fun. It's silly. It's colorful. It's a great time.
I mean, it's so just right there, such apples and oranges comparison,
right.
They're both phenomenal and they both deserve, Sweeney Todd and Anne Juliet for this season, I would say both definitely deserve to win Best Musical. But how do you compare Sweeney Todd and Anne Juliet? It's just crazy. But they won't be in the same categories because Sweeney Todd is going to be a revival, Anne Juliet's a new musical. So that's right.
There's an opportunity both can win.
I forgot about that. You're right. Okay, so then those are my two picks.
Great. Fingers crossed. We'll mark you down. Cool. Thank you guys so much. This has been an absolute pleasure, and you guys have so much to take a bow for, so thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Alex. Thank you.
I took a bow for just listening.